so story time about how my ex-boyfriend gave me an STD. Yep, you heard that right. He gave me an STD. I'm starting to question if there are like actually any good people out in the world. Like, what the fuck is this? Anyway, so a little background information. I was 16 and a sophomore in high school, and we are going to rewind back to my freshman year in high school. I started dating this guy who we are going to call Justin, and we met at a party that one of his teammates was throwing. Justin played basketball, and our basketball team was actually like ass. So anytime that they would win, it would be like this grand big deal, and they would like throw a party, you know, celebrate. If you guys win like one game every 5 games, it's really not a win. Anyway, so surprisingly, the first game that I went to, they actually won. And my friend Valeria and I both went to this party. And she introduced me to everybody because this was not my typical crowd, okay? I mean, to be honest, I didn't really even have a crowd in general because I was a loner, but not a loner by choice, if that makes any sense. It was mainly because I moved from Columbia to Ohio the summer before my freshman year in high school. And I literally could not speak a single fucking inch of English. So I was in ESL. If you don't know what that is, it's English as a second language, and it's pretty much like a class that you're in, and it's exactly what it sounds like. You learn English. But during the summer before my freshman year, I also studied English. And then whenever I went to school, I spent all of my time in this room with this one teacher who would pretty much teach me all of my classes. And any other kids in my school, aka only 6 kids in my school, spoke different languages, mostly Spanish. They all learned how to speak English as children, so that's why I was the only kid in that class. But slowly we transitioned into me going to regular classes, and she would come to these classes with me, and usually she would just sit in the back of the class with me and pretty much walk me through all of the work that we were doing and everything that the teacher was talking about. And finally, since I was in these regular classes, I was able to start meeting some people, and Valeria and I were in a lot of classes together, so we actually ended up hitting it off right away, which I was super happy about because I was like so tired from everything that was already going on, and I did not want to have to search for friends, so I was thankful. But yeah, that's the story of how I met Valeria and why I am not a very social person. But back to the party. Her and I are standing there watching the boys play beer pong when this guy that she really likes comes over, and she's like, hey, like, I'll be right back. I'm going to get a drink. So, you know, I'm standing there very awkwardly pretending that I have shit to do on my phone, you know, because this was the first party that I had ever been to. I knew absolutely none of these kids, so I just felt extremely awkward. I swear that has to be one of my biggest pet peeves, is whenever someone brings me somewhere and they're the only person that I know, and then they leave, they like just go and do like something else. They'll be like, hey, like, I'll be right back. Why would you do that to me? Because now, you know, my social anxiety was like low-key already here, and now it's here. That's low-key a reason why I stopped going places with my friends whenever I wouldn't know anybody else who would be there. And I know that like they were best friends with everybody else there, so I was just kind of gonna be sitting on the sidelines being like, hi, no thank you. Well, after 2 minutes of standing there by myself, this guy comes over and taps me on the shoulder, and when I look up, it's Justin, but I didn't know it was Justin at the time, and he's like, hey, do you want to be my partner for beer pong? And of course I said yes, because at that moment I realized Valeria was not coming back from getting another drink, or she at least wasn't going to be back anytime soon. So, you know, I'm playing beer pong with him and his 2 other friends, and we lost, of course, because 1, I was nervous, and 2, I had never ever played beer pong, so I wasn't really an expert. But after that, I was gonna go and find Valeria, so that way hopefully we could go home. But then he's like, hey, do you want to go outside on the porch? It's really nice out there. So we go outside on this porch, and it's like one of those porches that has has like a fire pit and then screens all around it so that way like the bugs can't get in. It was really cute. But you know, we sit on the porch, we're talking, and surprisingly we really hit it off. Like the conversation was flowing, no awkward moments, laughing, the whole conversation. Well, soon enough Valeria comes over and she's like, hey, my sister's here, we gotta go before my parents kill us. And I'm like, oh, okay, period. So you know, I get up, grab my things, I say bye to Justin, and then she like stops me as I'm walking, and I look at her and she looks at me, and then she looks down at Justin while he's sitting there, and then looks back at me, and then we start walking, and she's like, do you know who that is? And I'm like, that's Justin? And she's like, yeah, no fucking kidding. She was like, but you know that he's like one of the hottest guys in the school, right? Like, you're lucky as fuck. Literally, that kid is like a gift to women. Like, every girl wants to get with him, even the seniors. So now I'm like low-key weirded out and low-key like have like the ick, if that makes sense, because I'm like, well, Valeria told me that the guys in our school particularly are known for pretending to like girls and then doing the nasty with them and then leaving them. And yeah, that's all there is to it, you know, cute short story. But fast forward to Monday, class had already started and I am on my way back from the bathroom when I see Justin standing at his locker, and it looks like he just came into school late because he had his book bag and his coat on, and I'm looking down at my feet trying not to make eye contact with him because I'm an awkward person. Yeah, I don't know. I was just hoping that he wasn't gonna see me. But then of course, as soon as I pass his locker, he starts calling my name, and I want to just keep walking and act like I don't hear him, but I don't have headphones in to do that. So I turn around and I'm like, oh, hey. And he's like, hey, like, what class are you in right now? And I could tell that he really just wanted to talk to me because literally he's in my class first period. Like, we both have art together. I'm a little offended that he either, one, really didn't know that I was in his class, or two, pretended not to know that I was in his class. But I think it was option number one. He really just wanted something to talk to me about. So he's like, oh, are you going there right now? And I'm like, yeah, I just came back from the bathroom. And he's like, oh, like, can you wait for me to put my stuff in my locker and like we'll walk there together? I'm like, okay, Justin. If the title of this story time wasn't so shitty, I maybe would have thought that Justin was a good guy. But let's continue. So we walk into class together and he comes over and sits by me, which is really weird because all of his friends were in this class and they all had to sit up front because literally like 2 days into the school year, they all got in trouble for literally just fucking around the whole time and distracting the class. But, you know, he didn't care. He just wanted to come and sit next to me, so period. Okay, Justin. But he still came back and sat next to me anyways, even though I'm pretty sure the teacher told them that if they misbehave again in her class, she's literally gonna write them all up. So, you know, the teacher comes over and she crouches down next to him and like, you know, she whispers in his ear and she's like, I'm gonna let you sit here today, but if she tells me that you're distracting her or any of your other classmates, you'll be kicked out of my class for good. So, you know, he was like, okay, whatever, blah, 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 blah. So, you know, we're sitting there and we're talking and he's being really, really nice. Like, if this is how the guys trick the girls in our school, I am scared for what the real world looks like with men, because he was super dreamy, you know, acting like he cared about my life. But don't get me wrong, I was still super skeptical about him and boys in general. But after class that day, he asked me for my Snapchat and we started talking a lot more, and one thing led to another and bam, he's my boyfriend. Now, my dad was super against me having a boyfriend, okay, but my stepmom on the other hand made my dad a little bit more lenient, if that makes sense. Like, my actual mom passed away whenever I was 11 years old. My dad won't tell me why or how she passed away, so I guess it must have been something really bad. But anyways, eventually, whenever I turned 13, my dad met my stepmom, who lived in the United States. He would come over here and visit her, and I would stay with my grandma over in Colombia. And then eventually, we both moved to the United States with my stepmom. So, you know, my dad agreed to let me have a boyfriend, okay? But I was never allowed over his house. He always had to be at my house. We weren't allowed to do any of that. We weren't allowed to hang out at places together unless my dad was there, or unless one of my friends were there, or unless somebody else was with us. But I was really happy because he did get along with my dad super well. But fast forward to the summertime, right? It's summer before my sophomore year in high school, and Justin and I have been dating for probably about 7 or 8 months at this point, and our relationship was super good, but then it became okay. There were just some things that he was doing that really started to annoy me, and most of this stuff started during the middle of the summer. Like, 1, he was extremely clingy. Number 2, he was controlling, and number 3, he was very manipulative. And over time it just kept getting worse and worse and worse and worse. Like, for example, Valeria went on vacation for like a month and a half for the first half of the summer, right? And she came back like late July, and I was super excited, obviously, because I missed my best friend and I wanted to hang out with her. And yeah. Oh, also my family and her family planned a trip to Florida together, so that way we would be able to spend a week together before we had to go to school. So, you know, I'm super excited because we have all these plans to do all these amazing things. And Justin and I literally spent every single waking moment with each other throughout the summertime. I mean, there were probably, like, if any days that we didn't see each other, it was at most 2 days a week where we didn't see each other. And on those days, it really didn't feel like we weren't seeing each other because we were on the phone every fucking single second of that day. So like I said, Valeria comes back, and I told Justin that I was gonna be hanging out with her a lot for the next few weeks since she just got back and I haven't seen her. And I kept telling him this for the past few weeks, and you know, he seemed good with it until the time actually